Hello and welcome to the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship live on Apex Racing TV and live on the iRacing Esports Network. You join us for this round 6 of the championship from Watkins, Glen. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick. Alongside me is Daniel Lee. Scott Newton operating the cameras tonight. And Daniel, last time out we saw a classic race at Daytona. It was the first of the endurance meetings we've had so far this season. And it was fantastic to see the strategy really play out across the 90 minutes. And hopefully we're going to see the same here at another classic American circuit.
Yeah, thanks, Sam, and to all the viewers tuning in. Great to have you back again. Look, Daytona was a fantastic round. We saw lots of great strategies come out to play, as you said earlier. A few unlucky teams and drivers that were caught up in some very early messes, and some guys that got very, very lucky with the show of the virtual safety car. So we're hopefully going to see some more of that tonight, and I think we're going to see a really good strategy as we go into the second of our 4 back-to-back endurance events.
Yeah, almost like a mini championship. These 4 rounds all in succession. We used to have them kind of divided up, chopped and changed through the season, all in one bunch for this season. And yeah, it's a little bit of a mini championship, but also contributes to the 12-round series as well. A little bit more on what their championship order is a little bit later on as we get into the race, but currently we are in practice. The drivers have gone through a pre-qualifying session. There was a few servers set up, and the top 45 drivers, I believe, the fastest 45 times, all got into this top split. There's also one other split going on as well. So, as I always say, a fantastic quality of drivers out here to get into this top split in the first race. So, should be very evenly matched. This Watkins Glen circuit day, I mean, it's a good place for an endurance meeting. However, it's got a bit of a reputation recently, especially with this new tyre model from iRacing, of getting very problematic at the start. I think in the last couple of GTE races I've commentated around here, I think we've had about 4 wrecks, which is extremely high just through that first part of the lap, very close walls. And I can only hope that we don't see the same thing here, because we want to see as many drivers get through those first few laps as possible.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the run into turn 1 is going to be really tricky for these guys. There were some adjustments too to the rule book that we'll touch on a little bit later as well. But it's a very wide open space for anyone who knows the circuit very well. As you can see now, the runoff there very, very wide. So the guys got to try to keep the cars within the track limits there. But when we're going through with 50 odd cars here in the split, everyone's funneling up through the S's to get onto the back straight for the first time. There's always bound to be some sort of chaos that ensues from all that. Other than that, there are some pretty tough breaking points here. The guys are a little off track. We're going to see a lot of dive bombs come from these guys as well. So all eyes everywhere around you. You need to have about 6 pairs just to get yourself through this comfortably. But it's going to be really interesting to see what these guys want to do now.
They do have a faster pair, do these drivers, and we will deploy a safety car in case there's a big wreck, but hopefully none of that will be necessary. Also, virtual safety cars, we saw that come to prominence for the first time. Actually, the last couple of rounds really is important. Watch out for that. We'll try to keep you briefed with all these different rules as the race goes on. The drivers are now gridding up. We're going to have a full formation lap. And it's Kane Reiser on pole position. Shane Van Gisbergen, great to see him in the championship. He's up there in 2nd place. Joshua Thomas lines up in 3rd. And then behind that is Timothy Beeben, of course, defending champion. One of Beeben's best qualifying of the season, actually. He's been quite underwhelming in qualifying. But that's a good start for him on the second day. Martin Crisp, another great qualifier for him. He's massively improved as the season's gone on. He's alongside his amateur teammate, Jordan Cullis. Next, Ross Rizzo. He was very strong in the last couple of rounds. Hugh Bartow, Craig Edwards, a bit further down than expected. I think he won last time out, actually, at Daytona. Then it's Hayden Smith, Danny Davison, Lecty, Simon Nicholson, Jeremy Clark, Nathan Huppert, Scott Sislowski, Matt Morris, Adrian Block, Chris Keeping, Brady McHugh, Michael Healy, Lockie Brown, Tom Huggan, Paul Wood, Vaughan Ryder, Sean Karen, Mario Bartanian, Michael Whiting, Blake Delaney, Chris Pellet, and a few others going through for you right now. We've got a pretty big grid, as we always do, 42 drivers for this top split. The drivers will lead round. A little bit of a mixed up grid, I would say there, Daniel. I mean, it's strange to see Craig Edwards a bit further. We do know that he is very strong in the races, obviously. Kane Ryder on pole, but great qualifying there for Martin Crispin, Jordan Cullis. So, yeah, ever so slightly mixed up near the front.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows the circuit very well, so we're expecting to see a lot of quick times, and that's kind of been evident throughout the qualifying. And let's just say the guys we'd normally see up there a little further back, but we know how good the racecraft from all these drivers is. There's no reason that they will not push their way through. Little surprised to see the likes of Matt Morris back in 18th position as well. He's got some good company alongside him, so with Adrian Vlock as well. So those two will definitely be looking to make their run forward. But yeah, it's surprising if the guys couldn't get used to the draft, which was really evident last time out at Daytona as well. It did seem to impact them a little bit here as well on the qualifying positions.
Also, Shane Van Gisbergen, what can we expect from him? We've seen him in the series before. I remember seeing him at Montreal a couple of seasons ago. I mean, he's going to be competitive. There's no doubt about it. And second place on the grid, that's a real good sign for him. And against drivers who are fighting for a championship, he's a bit of a wild card. He can really go hell for leather and not really care if there's any consequence.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as a current crop of the V8 supercar drivers driving for Holden Red Bull Racing, I mean, it's great to see the caliber of those drivers stepping back into the GTs and these type of events. So for all the guys that are in this split, that's a really solid yardstick now for them to all be aiming at, see who can get up on him as far as strategy and outright pace that goes.
Yeah, certainly if he can beat him today, that would be a pretty big achievement for all these drivers. He's got a bit of an X on his back, I imagine, but at the moment it's Kane Ryder probably the man to beat. Starting from pole position, looking to take back the lead in the championship. It's been a good season so far for Ryder, with double points available for these endurance rounds. It's really important that he gets a good launch here. Van Gisbergen currently ahead of Ryder. They're running very close to the Porsche safety car at the moment. Wondering if they're going to have to back off ever so slightly. It's going to be a tricky start for these drivers. Van Gisbergen right alongside. He's leaving absolutely nothing between him and the BMW on pole position. The green flag is about to be waved, and we are underway for 90 minutes of racing in the Aussie Mix and Picks GT Championship at Watkins Glen. Strong start for Ryder. He keeps behind Van Gisbergen. He will take a natural racing line into turn 1, 3 and 4 wide further down the order. Let's make sure that we get through the first couple of corners all safe. Is anyone going to lose it on the extremely cold tyres up through the hill for the first time? Got a bit of side-by-side with Hugh Barter currently alongside Martin Crisp, who's actually had a pretty poor start, has Crisp, but the top 4 still in the exact same order. And as far as I can see, very good driving from everyone to get through those first few corners cleanly. Ryder just opening up a big enough gap through the first corner to be all right against Van Gisbergen down the back straight. And that is as good a start at Watkins Glen as you're ever going to see, considering that we've got 42 cars out here.
Yeah, really good start from everyone. A few positional changes, which is what we would have expected, but everyone settled down. That long train now starting to stretch out, some 2 and 3 wide action, still a little further back, but everyone getting away quite nicely.
Nathan Cuthbert's right in the midst of things. He's up a couple of places so far, of course, nearly won the championship last season, and he's up into 14th place so far, almost 3 wide. Who is that going down the inside? Trent Thomas trying to gain some places. In fact, apologies, it's Ross Rizzo trying to gain some places. Martin Crisp actually coming back against Rizzo. Crisp was ever so strong qualifying, qualified up in 5th place, dropped down to 7th at the start, but he's trying to keep behind Ross Rizzo, who got ahead of him initially, and Pat Crisp was just going to lose out, in fact, to Hugh Barter once again. So he is now 3 places from his start, and a little bit of a Constantina effect just behind him as well. This is quite a slipstream circuit. We're not using the bus stop, of course, for this race, and so it should be very possible to stay in your opponent's draft for a while. And that's what we're seeing out in the lead. Van Gisbergen right on the tail as we see a drive-through straight away for David Coleman for selecting the incorrect driver number. Yeah,
everyone else getting through quite nicely. So for Coleman there, that's going to be a hurt him a little bit. He'll really need the aid of a safety car now to get himself back into position. So currently well up the order. He's going to fall a long way down as a result of that. As we still see Josh Thomas now getting up on the inside of Shane Van Gisbergen through the far loop. And he'll set his sights now forward to Kane Ryder. What can Van Gisbergen do to try and get back up into that second position?
That was all quite simple for him. It's just positioning the car at the moment. This isn't quite like Daytona that we visited last week, where, of course, it's just entirely so you can afford to be play half a second slower than drive ahead and still stay with them in the draft. You have to be a bit more competitive than that. However, the drafts are just so evenly matched. We've got kind of 15 drivers where you go into the race and think, well, yeah, theoretically they could probably win the race on pure pace, and so I expect them to stay extremely close. And perhaps the leader isn't the place where he wants to be. And correct me if I'm wrong, Danny. I think we saw Kane Ryder leading the first stint at Daytona last week as well, and it really didn't help him in the long run. He had to come in for his first pit stop a couple of laps early. It meant that his first pit stop was a little bit longer. There was a couple of other things that happened to Ryder, but that first place in this first stint isn't really the place where you want to be.
No, but Kane's been very good throughout the course of the championship. He's got exceptionally stronger as the seasons have gone on, and we're starting to see that now. So both himself and throw Josh Thomas into the mix as well. I mean, Thomas was up at the front of Daytona for quite a long period of time for the Fisher Motorsports team, as Lockie Brownlee there gets a move done and moves himself up into 23rd. But those two really being the class of the field at the moment, like giving the likes of our regulars, Tim Feber and Jordan Cullis, Rizzo, a really good run for their money, and it's great to see it.
And into the lead goes Joshua Thomas on the championship protagonist. Hasn't been a great couple of rounds for Thomas. He got demoted a few places at Suzuka after he won there, but was too fast under the virtual safety car. He then got a penalty for contact, I believe, at Daytona. Again, not 100% sure about that one, but finished, I think, outside the top 20 in the end. Did Joshua Thomas after having quite a comfortable lead in the championship. There's a couple of setbacks of putting back in the championship. I think in second place at the moment. He's leading this race ahead of Kane Ryder, and he'll just be trying to set some good lap times and try to lead a bit of a breakaway. However, we've still got this top 7 all in a line, and just looking at Ross Rizzo on that last lap, fastest lap of the race, a 42.73, only a tenth of a second faster than the race leader, but 4 tenths faster than Kane Ryder. So at the moment, the top 7 seemingly pulling away a little bit. Martin Chris just being left a little bit distant in 8th.
Yeah, starting to get away from it. I'm really surprised to see Rizzo already starting to set some best lap times at the moment already. The Ford we've known over the course of the season's been a little bit tough to get up there, but he's starting to find form with it after those adjustments. So look for him to continue his solid run there. Got a good shot of the guys working their way through turn 1 there and using a lot of the track space as well. So that was called out by race control early on in the week, and some rules were updated around the use of that, so we'll see whether anyone does fall foul of that. But here's a solid battle for 10th position. Trent Thomas, Hayden Smith right behind for Riot Sim Racing, and we'll see whether Trent can get that car. Actually, sorry, apologies, it's Trent on Craig Edwards there, and Edwards just gets that Porsche back in front.
Oh, issue for Simon Nicholson. Nicholson dropping down with Lockie Brown. Lockie Brown had a decent start as well. There's a slow BMW at the moment, that is Nicholson. And I think the damaged Porsche as well, just fine. In fact, the Porsche is Nicholson. See what happens here. This seems to be down the back straight, or maybe it is going into the carousel. Watching around the outside. Oh, just an ever so small tap. And Nicholson goes off into the wall. And that was Adrian Lecter, apparently, who made contact. I think it's a surprise that we saw the other issue for Lockie Brown. He just seems to be slow all by himself, maybe making an individual mistake. Nicholson's still running, although he does have a faster pair. Plenty of leniency for these drivers with the strat sheet. I believe you can come into the pits now and still only have one more stop remaining for yourself. So you could potentially come in, get the faster pair, and still not have his race wrecked, but it's still not ideal.
No, I mean, probably want to split this out on 3 equal stints. I mean, for the viewers that are new to the series and getting up to speed with it. We've got two stops tonight. One compulsory stop for tyres. All 4 tyres must be changed. Fuel to come through as well. So we saw it at Daytona. A lot of guys elected to get the tyres actually done earlier than we both thought. Sam out there and just play the short strategy run at the end with the fuel. I think it might be a little bit different tonight. The tyres are going to be really important to keep hold of here.
2.4 degrees track temperature. It should cool down slightly. Oh, Hayden Smith round. That was just the rear end giving up on grip. He went wide. And now he's in a precarious position, trying to rejoin the 772. That's a shame for him, because he was driving very well. Hayden, not a guy that we see often in this series. Right, sim racing, there's no contact, just a bit offline, and maybe that's that high track temperature and quite heavy fuel loads as well.
Yeah, very similar to the last incident we saw there with Adrian Lecty involved as well, both in the same vicinity there. As we see another move down the inside, a little bit of what looked to be netcode Mario Vertanian getting a move there done. Actually, Smith is no action there for not leaving room, so a little bit of self-penalisation there as a result of that spin for him, but he's going to have a lot of work to do, and probably that quick repair if there was some damage to the rear end of that BMW for him to deal with. 16th position though, Mario having a really good run here. He's got Jeremy Clark right in front of him. Adrian Block, who we mentioned at the start there, already starting to work his way up a few positions now, finds himself in 17th and closing in on this little battle.
Bustling up 12 places so far, along with Blake Delaney. Was very I'd say underrated. I think we've mentioned him quite a bit, to be fair, Mario, at Daytona. But again, a driver that we don't see a whole lot in this championship. Also, Ryder and Van Gisbergen alongside. I think Van Gisbergen's up into 2nd place. Joshua Thomas has pulled out a 1.8 second out in the lead, whilst the others have seemingly been fighting. And Van Gisbergen now up into 2nd place. But yeah, Vartanen not quite getting the move done on Clark. 1/10 of a second behind Clark, having to go defensive. This circuit, with the amount of laps that these guys have put in, I mean, it's up there with Spa in terms of the most used circuit in all of iRacing. So these guys just know by the back of their hand. It's not like a Virginia, for example, that you might visit very occasionally and just take a while to get up to date with it. Particularly in GTE cars, these guys just know this race so well. And it's causing this really close battling at the moment. Everyone knows where the overtaking opportunities are as well. And this queue right now just forming up a bit. Their thing is, but yeah, it's still behind Jeremy Clark. And every time he goes defensive, it seems like an extra car has joined onto the train.
Yeah, definitely. He's just struggling a little bit just to get the grip in there to push further. But as long as he can hold everyone back, should be good. Slow BMW. There on the main straight. That's Trent Thomas there, so potential slowdown for him. That will let Danny Davis and Nathan Huppert's both clear pass, so those guys promote themselves up to 10th and 11th respectively. Thomas now has a lot of work to do after that slowdown to get back up and regain those positions.
Kane Ryder. Kane Ryder's going to lose another place there. What's going on with Kane right now? The former leader, he dropped 1.5 seconds to Thomas, and straight away loses 0.8 to Van Gisbergen, and he gets overtaken by Timothy Theben as well. We haven't had a whole lot of, we haven't really been looking at it. I don't know if it's just a couple of mistimed mistakes from Ryder, but for a driver who's been consistently near the front all season long and got pole position, of course, he's tumbling down the order at the moment. Look at that from Cullis. Apologies, Hugh Barter going for the overtake. The ERT is up into 5th place now. It's Barter, the 9.68 machine, past Jordan Cullis. And I wouldn't be surprised if he now gets past Kane Ryder as well. Ryder seemingly staying in the draft at least for Theben now, but look at Barter again, seemingly closing in. Very strange for the BMW to be quite this slow at this stage of the race.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of it has probably to do, like I say, with the hot track temps that we're seeing at the moment. I mean, I was able to run out a few times over the course of the week, get a few laps in, just to get a feel for how all these cars were going, and noticed over the first 3 to 4 laps, the cars were really good. They were like on rails, and then you'd notice a little bit as the tyres started going, you push that a little bit harder, you started to find the track time diminished, the gains weren't there at all, and you actually started to fall back quite a bit. But it does plateau. You can bring these tyres back in, which will help him out. So Kane just needs to settle it down a bit, get back into the rhythm. The lap time pace, last lap for him was a 44.7, so substantially slower than what we're seeing from the guys in front, as we see Hugh Barter now with a run on him. He's just got to cool those tyres off a little bit, slow it down, get the rhythm back in, and he'll go through. But Hugh Barter with a nice classic move down the inside through the hairpin. Kane Ryder wants to fight back though, but I think he's going to struggle being on the outside here.
It's really strange this. We very rarely see this in really in sim racing. Usually if you're quick in one session, you're going to be quick in the next session. It's not like, well, sorry to use the most obvious motorsport, but Formula 1, where maybe you got a car strong in qualifying but isn't strong in the race. Remember, all these drivers are on the same setup, who are in the same team, and the best leader right now is driving a BMW Joshua Thomas. So very strange with Kane, but he might still finish on the podium, and it'd be really interesting to hear why he's just struggling with pace at the moment, because as you're saying, 44.5, admittedly with an overtake, 44.7 apologies, with an overtake. But the fact that he's failing to really keep up with the drivers ahead is worrying times for him. Ross Rizzo will be leading the charge now to catch up Craig Edwards just on his tail. Adrian Block with a spin, seemingly he was up in about 15th place, I believe, before, and you can see how slow these couple of cars were in front of him. Did he go for a move block? Oh no, it's a tap from behind, and I think that's probably going to be a penalty then. Is that with Jeremy Clark? Maybe? I can't quite see the number there.
Yeah, I believe that is the car of Jeremy Clark there down the inside. Admittedly, Vlock did leave a little bit of room on the turn-in point there, but you do take quite a wide line to cut the car back and start the acceleration down the short chute into turn 12 there. So a little unfortunate for Vlock. He will get back underway. Hopefully race stewards will reassess that one, and potentially we will see something come their way. Rizzo now on the back of Jordan Cullis, trying to get a move done. Also got Craig Edwards still hanging in there. These three have been pretty well inseparable since the start of this race.
Here comes Rizzo. It's only a matter of time here. Jockey penalty for car 777 Pat Gallo. That was for a separate incident, I believe. Trying to see where Gallo is at the moment. I know. It's 28th place for McQueen Esports. Yeah, so that was a different incident, not the one that we saw down at the hairpin. In fact, Scott Neeson doing an awesome job with the cameras, with the race directing, and trying to find this incident for us. And there was on the 106 car of Paul Warwick. He was second place out of the rookie drivers, and that did cause quite a mess. So same corner, but different incident from what we saw a few moments ago. Cullis struggling, of course he's been overtaken by Rizzo. Remember, Cullis was ahead of Hugh Barter, and Barter now about 2.5 seconds further up the road. I'm just wondering if the BMW is maybe the slower car, but then Joshua Thomas is leading the race by 1.5 seconds. So it's very tricky to say, but these BMW guys just seem to be dropping down slightly as the race is going on. Kane Ryder still in the mid 44s, failing to improve a whole lot at the moment. Bart's up into 3rd place now for ERT. There he is. He's got ahead of Timothy Feeber. Hugh Bart's driving exceptionally well at the moment.
He's doing a fantastic job. I mean, we saw that at Daytona last week out. He was really solid in the ERT Porsche there, and really cut his way through the field quite nicely. Doing the same again tonight. Already up 5 positions from where he started, and as you say, just climbed up into 3rd position. 2-second gap between himself and Shane Van Gisbergen. But looking at the pace advantage for him at the moment, he should be able to start closing that down and maybe get up to him within the next 4 to 5 laps.
Now the Jazz are kind of setting into their lap times. Kind of saying good pace. Oh, that was close. Perrin. He'll have that one. Jeremy Clark going in very deep. We are expecting, or we can't waiting for a penalty for Clark at the moment. The stewards just going through all the incidents at the moment. Karan behind Lecti as Jordan Cullet has come into the pits, which is a bit early. He genuinely wants to extend this first stint slightly longer than the others. You doubt he's going to take tyres, Clark. So what Clark will probably do is he'll pit now, and then he'll pit again on the 45-minute mark, take tyres at the 45-minute mark, just a half and half a tyre, which is kind of the opposite of what we often see from guys, which is go long for the first stint, pit on the 45-minute mark, and then have one more pit stop after that. The drivers have to pit twice in this race, and they have to take tyres at one of their pit stops, by the way. But yeah, alternative strategy there is Sean Curran. Oh, that looks pretty easy for him. Just takes the normal racing line and straight past Adrian next.
Yeah, it's helpful when you've got the teammates on track there. It's very easy to the old switcheroo of positions, and that was evident there as what we've seen. For Jordan Cullis too, just quickly back to his stop there, 12.6 seconds. So only fuel for this early phase of the race for him. So he'll get back underway. Did drop him a long way down the order, it must be said, down to 33rd position at the moment, just behind Greg Sharp, Dakota Simsport, and he's got a little bit of work to do to get back up. Chris Hallett closing in on Simon Nicholson, who we saw having a little bit of issue earlier on as well. So those guys working their way through, and Greg Sharp down in that 32nd position, starting to close now up onto Dave Clements in the Mach 1 Esports Ford.
Yeah, Clements starts his 42nd place. That's just not a qualifying time. There he is. Fantastic, fantastic livery and fantastic profile picture as well for Dave Clements. We often have. I'm just trying to remember his name. Oh, I feel so bad that I've forgotten the Sim Racers World driver's name. But another series I used to commentate on, we very much agreed that he had the best profile picture. Dave Clements there, rivaling him. Derek Holland as well from Apex Racing League GT with another exceptional profile picture. Yeah, saying some good standards are the drivers out there at the moment. Anyway, trying to stay on topic, Chris Keeping. He is up in 18th place, the rookie driver. Remember Keeping, a couple of rookies in this in this race. He's staying ahead of Lockie Brown. Remember Brown with an off earlier on in the race, or at least a setback to the carousel. It's odd, he seems to lose kind of 4 or 5 positions. He's made a couple of them up again. But Silvassi ahead of them is up 17 places with Martin Silvassi, a bit under the radar for Chick Esports. We've had plenty of changes. We're only 20 minutes into this 90-minute race.
Yeah, a lot of changes early on. This is really sort of now equalising how the field is going to come through. Everyone's starting their different strategy runs. We've already seen quite a few drivers now come through the lane. Fuel only at this point for a lot of these guys. But it's interesting to see now what they're looking to do. How far will they push it before they come in for that final stop and take those tyres? Chris Keeping, though, as we keep an eye on him, doing a fantastic job keeping Lockie Brown behind him. Lockie, who we saw right early on, having a very slow run. I think he ran wide down at the southern hairpin there. Took a while to get back up going, but starting to come back through the field quite nicely. And the pace for both these two very, very good at the moment as Danny Davison drops in the lane for the first of his 2 stops tonight as well.
Yeah, another driver in. And still leader out to the drivers who have pitted is at the moment Jordan Cullis, pitted from about 9th place, but these other drivers deciding to stay out a bit longer. So Bassi, is this going to be an easy move for him? Not quite. It's very tricky to defend into the carousel. The outside and the inside both work really well. You tend to see drivers defend the inside, but especially in touring cars, even if you are forced on the outside, you can carry a lot of speed. It's almost as though there's a bit extra banking, perhaps, just on the outside of the corner. And so it's almost impossible to defend around that one. But fortunately for Watkins, just had a big enough gap going onto the back straight in order to fend his rival off. However, this feels like a bit of a matter of time more than anything else. 20 seconds behind the race leaders currently are these drivers. Kind of just shows how close the order is at the moment, what the gaps between all the drivers are, and you can check out what the gaps between all the drivers are by clicking on the live timing link in the description below, provided by SPK Gaming. You also provide this awesome overlay to check out spkgames.co.uk. Customize your own overlay as long as you know CSS. You do need to know CSS, which I don't know. But if you do know it, then you can customize it however you want. Whiting skimming the wall. He'd already made a mistake a couple of laps, a couple of corners earlier, and I said it was only a matter of time. I thought that he was going to have to work a little bit harder for this one, Silvassi, and it turns out he is going to have to work a little bit harder for it because Whiting is still fending him off.
Yeah, really surprised Whiting was able to keep that after the exit that he got on through the final corner there with the touch on the wall. But for Silvassi, just not quite able to close through the gap. He's going to have a good opportunity here down into the carousel, right up behind the Fisher Motorsports BMW. Ducks out of the draft. Will we see this be the final change of position? Gets the nose ahead, and nicely done there from Silvassi. Gets himself now up to 15th position, closes the door on Whiting, so now he can turn his attention forward. He's got Adrian and Lecty just ahead of him, and that's a good gap for him to close down 2.7 seconds up the road.
Mitchell Bales closing in by 0.7 of a second on that last tour. He's on board. This corner, anyone's ever agreed what the best time for that corner is. You kind of have a little bit of banking midway round the corner. Sometimes drivers like to trail brake it in and not use that banking. Some drivers just want to hook the car onto it. But it is such a satisfying circuit. This, apart from this left-handed one of the most tricky corners on the entire circuit up the hill. And you've got that really treacherous curve on the inside, and also easy to spin the car on the corner exit as well there. Besides that, every one of these corners just flows into the next. Bales just with a slight bit of oversteer at the moment. We are expecting the grip to improve as the race goes on, as the track does cool down. But at the moment, still grip at a premium, and after really closing up on Specchiate just ahead, that's a slightly slower lap. Danny Davison with the fastest third and fourth sectors. In fact, he was 0.6 of a second faster than Thomas to the third sector alone. There are 5 sectors round this lap. That's good signs for Davidson, and perhaps just shows what the advantage on fresh tyres is. He hasn't got a whole lot of fresher tyres, and he's probably running more fuel than his rival, and yet he's able to lap at the moment over about 1.5 seconds a lap faster is Davison. That's an element that we haven't seen until quite recently, Danny, with this new tyre model. Before that, it wasn't really a factor, that.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right. The guys would only really look at doing the tyres once. It didn't make so much concern. You know, your pace was very consistent across the whole way through the stint. Obviously, iRacing now have added that little extra realism touch to it. The tyres do degrade quite substantially depending on how hard you push them, and the pace advantage subsequently from getting onto a new set early on really, really beneficial here. I wouldn't be surprised. Actually, it'd be interesting to see if maybe if you were the driver's side, actually look at doing their 2 stops, 2 sets of tyres, just to maintain that pace advantage, because it will help you in the long run. You're not going to be bleeding anywhere near as much energy later on. So we'll keep an eye on this and see how he goes. And also notice up the front too, Shane Van Gisbergen has really closed that gap back up to Josh Thomas. We replay Damon Mulqueen keeps the Porsche up off the curb there, spins it through the second to last corner, and we'll get back underway. So a little bit awkward there for him.
Yes, just stepping a tire onto the grass. New grass model coming, everyone. I'm looking forward to that. Should make our broadcast look a little bit better rather than just looking like paint with the grass. No, to be fair, the grass doesn't look bad at the moment, to be fair, to iRacing, but it will look even better if anyone's seen the images. Do check out iRacing's Twitter page for that, or on the forums. I'm sure they'll post it on Facebook as well. Looking forward to see that one. Van Gisbergen, very good pace recently for him. 44.0 on that last lap. The times are dropping off. They were lapping in the high 42s earlier on. They're dipping into the 44s now, so over a second loss. And they should still be on these tyres for another 15 minutes, potentially, depending on how far they can go on fuel. Though we think there isn't really a limit on fuel. I think they can go pretty much an hour during this first stint. I doubt that they'll go that far, but probably 45 minutes to split the race in two will probably be the way to go. And Thomas perhaps eating through his tyres a little bit more. It's tricky to say. And look at Bart's and Phoeben as well, closing in by 0.6 of a second. Now, they were going through traffic on that last lap, but Thomas's lap times have been in the 44s in recent times. So this isn't just a one-lap thing.
No, I think he's really starting to find the tyre edge starting to fall off under the BMW there for Thomas. So he's going to become a pretty witting victim here to Van Gisbergen very, very soon. The gap continuing to close down. That little bit extra advantage that Porsche does have, obviously carrying the engine at the back, a little bit more weight over the rear tyres will help in the long run. The BMW is going to suffer just a fraction having that additional weight. Trying to get it turned through, especially through these high speed corners, it's really going to start to scrub the speed. And I think we're starting to really see that evident now in the way Thomas is moving that car around. But Gisbergen here is setting himself up for a really solid run to get himself back up this will be the first time into the lead of the race after having started second.
He really needs to get it done now. Pull a gap on Van Gisbergen and pull a gap on Thomas and Bartzer and Phoeben. I think if the longer he stays behind, he may not have this advantage for the entire race. This might just be a 10-minute thing where being able to look after the tyres a bit more. So yeah, needs to overtake straight away. Also Rizzo as well. Ryder really struggling in fifth place. He's got a queue of cars behind him. Rizzo, Edwards, Huppert, and Chris. Yeah, even Chris actually catching back up to these guys. However, Ryder kind of matching the race. He's only a couple of tenths slower than the race leaders. He's not that slow. It's just Thomas is struggling. Thomas back into the 43s, but still losing time to the other drivers. What does Ryder do this time? 44.1, so that's a little bit better for him. But he is losing still time to Rizzo behind, who we know will take no prisoners. Chris well onto the Chris well onto the back of these guys. Also Trent Thomas catching up to these guys quick. Tislowski as well. Also Sean Caran down in 13th place with some good lap times. Here comes Rizzo as we see a change for the lead as well. Van Gisbergen past Thomas. He takes the lead for the first time in this event. And meanwhile, Rizzo trying to get the move done on Phoeben. He's got the inside for the next corner. This should be a done deal. And he is past the pole sitter, the Max Boost Racing driver. And next up will be Craig Edwards, winner last time out at Daytona. And he is now third in line. I think that's only a matter of time. Van Gisbergen down to the lead. Thomas just needs to try to stay in the draft now for as long as possible. And I'm also wondering, is it worth Thomas pitting now and putting some fresh tyres on that car just to regain track time? I mean, it might leave him vulnerable later on, Daniel, but if he wants to maintain track position, perhaps pitting now for some fresh tyres would almost guarantee him the lead when the first round of pit stops are complete.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if we look at the advantage at the moment, Van Gisbergen passed him halfway through the lap down at the carousel. He's already opened up 6 tenths for the second advantage early on. So for Thomas, getting in now early, get a first stop out of the way, some fresh rubber, very beneficial. Just keeping an eye on those guys. They work their way down through turn one. Some guys really taking full advantage of the track there, which potentially could come back to hurt them a little bit later on after race control did have some issues around the use of the track limits past the yellow line there. So I have to keep an eye on that later on. But I think for Thomas right here, right now, he really needs to get onto that fresher rubber.
He gains about 3 tenths of a second in the draft. Oh, as Phoeben is back ahead of Bart's. I don't believe they were that way round before. Yeah, that is just a change of position. they've lost a bit of time though by doing that. They lost. No, you know what? Actually, they haven't lost too much time. They're still 1.8 seconds behind Thomas, so it's not too bad for them. By the way, Van Gisbergen, you may have seen a green come up against his name as a pass on best lap. That was Van Gisbergen's fastest clean lap, fastest lap that he hasn't picked up a 1x. So a little bit of an asterisk by that. That's still half a second slower than what he was doing earlier on Van Gisbergen. So yeah, 43.32 that last time round. I think we're going to have to go back to the rider battle. I want to give some attention to these drivers a bit further down as well, but you can see the red, the orange behind Ross Rizzo. Riders, to be fair, staying within draft range. He's almost out of losing it. As that was very late into the pits, wasn't it, Daniel? I thought you had to be within the orange line on the pit entry a lot earlier than that, whereas Edwards and Hutford, who have just come into the pits, they seem to swerve in right at the last moment.
Yeah, really quick entrance, trying to maximise the pitting speed there for both of those cars. We'll keep an eye as they both hit the box now just to see what their total times are, but they're really maximising the entrance into pit lane there. Cubata all over the back of Tim Phoeben down in the carousel, not quite able to get that move done at this point in time. So these two still settling on. The gap up the front between Van Gisbergen and Thomas still starting to normalise now, still at about 6/10 advantage. We jump on board here with Van Gisbergen as he works his way down to the heel of the boot, or the toe of the boot, sorry.
Edwards with a 35.75 second pit stop. So I guess he's all right. We have seen Jazz take 9-second pit stops before, and yeah, so I mean, it's difficult to say, but we think he's taken tyres on that front. We should be able to tell by his lap times pretty soon. This is really within a pit window now for Thomas, and the tyre should last better in the second half of the race than the first half of the race, because the track should be cool. So he could come into the pits now and not be too bad at the end of the race. But I'm sure these drivers would like to kind of get to the 40-minute mark. We've also got safety cars and virtual safety cars potentially, which really mix up the stretch. If you've got a virtual safety car, you want to hit under the virtual safety car if possible, which means you want to leave your couple of pit stops as late as possible. If you got the safety car, then you want to pit before the safety car comes out. You don't want to pit after the safety car or during the safety car, which which really does put the hands in the stewards as to which one they choose, because that can really change the outcome of the race. Thomas now 6.5 tenths of a second off Van Gisbergen. He's just opening up the gap, so he's almost out of draft range. If that opens up to 1 second, then he should be out of that tow range. Trent Thomas versus Martin Chris. Thomas catching up to these guys very quickly in recent laps after a setback earlier on in the race. Also a bit of an underwhelming qualifying as well for Thomas. But he stayed behind Martin Crisp, who moves into the lead of the amateur drivers since the former amateur leader came into the pits of Jordan Cullis, of course, who made that very early pit stop. Thomas just staying behind the lime green car. Adrian Lecty.
They've both changed position, these two drivers as well. That was role reverse just before. Chris Keeping closing in to have a nibble in this fight as well. So Squabble now over 15th position.
.16 places now gained for Chris. Of course, these are those stats very much skewed by the pit stops that are occurring at the moment. Just seeing Van Gisbergen, and I wonder if we could get the track temperature up on screen. We're halfway through the game. Seems like the pace has kind of come back now for the drivers. Thomas still not matching his times from earlier on, but Van Gisbergen is setting almost his fastest laps at the moment. So, no, doing a good job at the moment is Van Gisbergen. That gap now up to 1 second, nearly out of tow range.
Yeah, doing a really solid job there, staying ahead. A little further back, we've got some battling still going on down in 27th position. Greg Sharp, still a little bit off the back of Pat Gallo from Muck One Esports. Danny Davison, who was one of the first drivers to come through the lane for his stop, back ahead of them now, up in 23rd position, and actually starting to really get some use out of those tyre stop that he took earlier on. Further down the order, though, this fight with Sharp and Gallo really starting to heat up, and good to see Greg in the field. We've seen him normally in the AOSC, but started over in AMF now, and this is race 2 for him with Curtis and 14. So really solid run there.
Last lap of the race for Craig Edwards, 42.41. 1 second faster than the race leaders. Leader of the drivers who have come into the pit still, Jordan Cullis, Danny Davison as well, both coming into the pits, and Adrian Block. But Edwards, top of the drivers who have taken tyres. Also taking tyres was Nathan Harputz as well. These two setting some lightning tyres. And these guys were they were about 10 seconds off the lead before, weren't they? And if they're lapping a second lap faster, give them 10 laps, and we might see these guys pretty close to the race leaders. This would be something worth Van Gisbergen and co to think about. But at the moment they're about safe. All the pit stops should be completed in approximately about 10 minutes, and then we'll have one more pit stop as well later on. 2 pit stops mandated for these drivers. Here was Trent Thomas getting past Martin Crisp, who has come into the pits. Apologies, no, Crisp hasn't come into the pits. But this was a penalty, we think, for Crisp because of this contact. She did well to avoid the sliding BMW, to be fair, did Crisp. But after an awesome race for Crisp, he may well get a drive-through penalty for that.
Yeah, I think we'll see another one there, because we've seen quite a few already, although Chris did get the tyres down up on the grass, which wouldn't have helped his cause at all. Solid avoidance not to get back into Thomas there after rotating him around, but I think based on the penalties we've seen so far, that will definitely be a drive-through at this point.
Oh, Craig Edwards getting really held up behind Greg Sharp. Needs too much time, I guess, only for a corner. Huppert's also making his way past. The majority of the battles for now have kind of separated. Martin Crisp, by the way, into the pit, and Lockie Brown. I'm not sure if I don't know if Scott could whisper in our ear whether or not he got a drive-through penalty. I think Scott may have said it was Scott just corrected me there. He has got a drive-through penalty, and that was the drive-through penalty he just served. Back out onto the track.
Yeah, you're lucky just to get that car back in. Gets the header Chris keeping there. He's got Adrian Lechty right behind him as well, in the newly updated DPR racing car as well. So going to have to be pretty cautious here. The old tyres are not going to be in his favour as these guys work their way up and around.
I think it would be worth Chris coming into the pits, to be fair, right now, and getting his pit stop done. Just going to have traffic potentially against drivers who we believe are a bit faster than him. But yeah, that drive-through penalty will probably cost him. It's a long pit lane, man. They're one of the longest pit lanes, I think, in the world. And that would have probably cost him probably be about 20 seconds or so trying down the pit lane. Maybe even 15 seconds might be not too bad for him. Michael Whiting's just at the fastest first sector of anyone at 26.9, I think, for a moment. He must have cut a corner or something. Going some wings on that machine, because that is an exceptional first sector for him. I don't know what's happened there with Michael Whiting. Might be a glitch on our timing screens. Hugh Bartzer just opening up the gap to Timothy Beavan at the moment, up to 0.6 of a second. These drivers 3.8 seconds off the race lead, as Chris does follow my advice, comes into the pits along with Mario Bartz and Ian. Means that the top 15 drivers, I believe, have not come into the pits so far in this race. But at the moment, race leader 43.47. Thomas slipping back into the late 43s, 43.96. That's his worst lap time in a while, ever since he's been overtaken by Van Gisbergen. You can see the gap between the two of them, opening up so slightly for the past few laps, going from 1 second to 2 seconds. And Hugh Bart's at 43.68 and Tim TV at 43.58. It does seem like at this point in the race, Van Gisbergen has the legs on the other drivers. He's the man to beat right now.
Yeah, the favour has really swung in his fortune at the moment. That gap's continuing to extend out. For the guys behind, I'm surprised the likes of Hugh Bart and Tim Feeben haven't been able to get up a little bit sooner to the back of Trent Thomas. Their lap advantage has been very good for both of those drivers. Just struggling a little bit at the moment. You can see the gap still continuing to come down, just taking a little bit longer than probably what we would have thought as everyone continues to cycle around for another lap. Currently, we've had pit stops from everyone from 16th or 18th position down, which is obviously led by Danny Davison, who was our first driver to come through the lane and take tyres. So, going to be about the time where these stops really need to start firing through for everyone here if they want to knock them all off before the end of this race.
I'm surprised Thomas hasn't come into the pits yet. 2.2 seconds behind. All he needs is an undercut of about 2 laps, and he'd be able to jump Van Gisbergen because the new tyres seem to have about a second lap advantage. Like I said earlier on, the tyres should last better in the second half of the race compared to the first half because you'll be running marginally less fuel, and also the track temperature will be a bit cooler. Was 44 degrees when we started. The track temperature now is... Come on, Scott. Come on, track temperature. Aha, thank you. 41 degrees. Scott Newton scratching his elbow, apparently, on that front. 41 degrees track temperature now, so 3 degrees down, not a massive jump off, but we that should be down to probably the mid-30s by the end of the 90 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. The track's really holding in the temperature at the moment. I think last week looked, as you say, 43 degrees at that point in time, and they still stayed very consistent. These guys are really starting to get a bit worried here. They're going on a long time. This is going to start hurting them later on in the race, though, potentially for all these guys that have already come in, gained some advantage on the tyres. Ultimately, yes, they found themselves in some traffic, but they're making the most of it with that newer rubber underneath. So I think for the guys up front, as we see Ryder and Korean now in the lane getting their stops done, this has got to be the time where you want to jump in and knock those over. Tom Huggan for XRC having a good little fight. He's got Michael Whiting just ahead. As you mentioned just a few laps ago, Scott setting a very quick time on the used rubber in that Fisher Motorsports BMW. Jeremy Clark just ahead of these guys as well. So still a little train and group of cars for these guys to be in, down in 28th position.
Tricky to keep up with everything that's going on. Do click on the live timing link in the description below, of course. Sorry to bang on about it. I always bang on about it, but I don't know what I would do without the live timing. It's very tricky to keep up to date with actually what's going on circuit, but with the SDK live timing webpage, then you can see the length of the drivers' pit stops, how many pit stops they've made, the gaps between all the drivers. And that's really the only way that you can understand the structure. We try our best to inform you in the comms box, but we are mere mortals. So certainly do click on the live timing link if you've got an extra monitor or a tablet spare. Van Gisbergen doing a 43.2. Thomas with a 43.3 that last. So that's one of the best lap times for a while. Actually, Hugh Bartz with a 43.2 as well. Seems as though almost the the fresh tires really help you out at the start of your stint, and then you seem to drop off in the middle part, and then maybe the tyre wear isn't quite as costly near the end, and the depleting fuel improves your times slightly at the end of the stint. Oh, forward with big slide there, because the times coming back to these gyres, it might also be the track temperature as well, cooling down a little bit more grip for these gyres, and of course the rubber being laid down as well for the drivers. Fastest fourth sector for Sean Caran, by the way. Fastest fifth sector for Adrian Block. In fact, Mario Bartonin, who recently set the fastest first sector as well. So still these drivers with the fresh tyres still saying some very good sector times, but they're about half a second lap faster than the race leaders at the moment, although they are in a little bit of traffic.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're starting to see, as you say, the temps dropping down, those tyres working very, very nicely here. Martinian all over the back of Adrian Vlock. And looking at the strategies, Vlock owning is still on the old tyres as well here, so this should be really in Martinian's favour. But he's going to have to do it around the long way through the carousel. A little bit of extra grip offered up on those fresher rubber, definitely helping him here as he goes high, and should get this move completed now down the inside against Vlock. That's a solid run, and pace looking very, very good for him. So that moves him up into 17th, just ahead. Nathan Hupperts and Sean Caran are starting to get into a little squabble as well over 15th position. So Mario should find himself into a good little three-way fight here, not too far up the road. As you see, Danny Davison now, he's got Jordan Cullis from XRC Racing just ahead of him as well. So that's not too bad. Josh Thomas in the lane too now for his first stop. So very timely manner for him. Let's see whether it's tyres that he takes. Looks like it will be based on the stop time, over 30 seconds now at the moment. So fresh rubber, so this car should be very, very quick when he gets back out on circuit.
Just wondering where he's going to come out in regards to Craig Edwards. I think Scott Neaton having the same thinking as I. Edwards, the top of the drivers who have taken tyres, and he is ahead of Joshua Thomas. Edwards' pit stop was 35.75, Thomas 45.68, so taking much more fuel. The gap between the two of them, 5 seconds. So Thomas is effectively ahead because he's got more fuel, and also he's got much fresher tyres as well. But for the time being, Edwards with the with track position. Also, that means that Edwards should have track position on Van Gisbergen when Van Gisbergen comes into the pits. Again, Van Gisbergen will be in a better situation in terms of fuel, and he will have fresher tyres again. But we could see Edwards lead a lap in a bit. I think you mentioned it earlier on, Daniel, as Timothy Beeman comes into the pits, how the drivers could they do a 2-stop for tyres? Would that be a viable strategy for them, where they come into the pits for tyres twice, or do you think they will just stick with the one? Because Edwards pitting as early as he did, it's quite a strange strategy. We usually see Edwards kind of going for the sensible strategy, the fastest strategy, coming into the pits when he did after about 20 minutes for fresh tyres and doing this an hour and a half on one set of tyres. Seems a bit strange to me. Do you think he'll pit for tyres in his second pit stop as well?
I reckon we're going to see tyres come out twice for a lot of these drivers tonight. I was, if I was betting man, I definitely having a solid crack at it. It's an awesome strategy to do a little bit left of field of what everyone traditionally does in this series. We know we've only got to do one mandatory tyre stop, but there's nothing to say you can't take two. So for the pace advantage that it definitely offers up, getting onto that fresher rubber, I'd be opting for it myself if I was out there on track with these guys. Admittedly, I'm not fast enough to drive with them, but with looking at how the track is running and the tyre wear and the pace that we're seeing at the moment, taking 2 stops is actually not a bad idea.
Oh, Fieben. I say Fieben. Well, he's right in the middle of this battle. So you got Fieben, Edwards, and Cullis. So Fieben might be track position leader in a bit. Davison gets past. And Cullis as well. He's already pitted Karan with the fast up the race. Karan's absolutely flying right now. He's absolutely flying his Karan. We've seen him set some purple sectors, but this level of pace is quite unusual, and he's going for a move. And Craig Edwards here, this would be phenomenal. He's 1.3 seconds faster on that last lap. And Sean Karan, he qualified in 27th place. He's really coming into the fray for a potential podium right now. There he goes. He's up into 12th place past Edwards, who nearly goes into the back of him. Did well to avoid, and now Edwards has got Cullis right on this tail. Sean Karan, who is a driver who hasn't seen a whole lot in this series. I said, he may have done every round of the championship. So I'm pretty sure we saw him at Daytona at least. But this pace is really good for him at the moment. A few other drivers coming into the pits, and Gisbergen, I think the only driver yet to come into the pits at the moment. And this was how Karan did it just a moment ago.
Really solid run there down into the heel, utilising that inside line, and Sheekley on the run up here. Love to see the shot looking back, just swats it across the nose there of Craig Edwards and gets away with a little bit of oversteer on exit for a measure, and off he goes. Did notice too, just as we got away from that little exchange, Danny Davison is back in the lane for his second stop, and looking at the times that he's stationary for at the moment, 21 seconds. I'm wondering if he's maybe elected to take, if not a full set, maybe at least two or three tyres on that car. Van Gisbergen not yet stopped. We did see Barter come through the lane, and quite a few other guys up the front. Ross Rizzo was also in that lot as well, along with Scott Sosleski as well, all coming through for their respective stops. Trent Thomas, exchanged one Thomas out for another up the front. Finds himself in second, still got to come in for the first of two stops for himself tonight yet as well.
Leader of the drivers who have taken tyres now is Hugh Barter, who came in a moment ago. Fastest second, third and fourth sectors for Barter on his outlap. So this won't be the fastest lap of the race. It would certainly be if he didn't have to trundle down the pit lane at the starts of it. So Bart's, absolutely lighting up the times at the moment. That's a good decision for him not to take a whole lot of fuel. But Bart's took barely any fuel. He took 26 seconds for the tyres. He only took about 2 seconds of fuel, hopefully, which will mean that he'll have to come into the pits on after about an hour and 5 minutes into this race. But for the next 10 minutes, Bart's on low fuel. Or almost just, almost like a qualifying it now. So Bart's will be absolutely flying along. It'll be a set fastest lap after fastest lap, I imagine. In the first sector, 0.3 of a second faster than Gisbergen alone. So, extremely quick. There are the fastest times of the race. I think Bart's will probably be dipping into the 41s this time round. And you can see Karan as well in 9th place, doing very well for DPR. Although he's lost that time, Karan, as he gets involved in a bit of traffic, a little bit slower that time round. He's got Timothy Beaver next up to go.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on this on our stationary time. Van Gisbergen got the gap at the moment, just over 50 seconds to Hugh Barter, who we're focusing on at the moment. Most stops at this point in time for the guys coming through that are only taking fuel are around 43 seconds. So theoretically, he could get back out in front, but he's got going to have weaker tyres at that point. So if he comes in for the tyre stop, he's going to definitely drop behind Hugh Barter once this cycle of pit stops plays out. Just keeping an eye on Gisbergen. He's working his way down into the toe at the moment as we watch Hugh now down at turn 1. So it's getting pretty dicey here for Van Gisbergen. He's going to have to come in. You'd have to think it'd be this lap to get loose tyres on that car and back underway if he wants to have a shot at winning this one tonight.
But with a slow final sector there, having to overtake a couple of drivers in the final corner. Otherwise, that would have probably been a 41.8. I think he lost about half a second just to the race leader. And he probably lost about 7/10 trying to slalom his way through. So no fast lap that time for Barter, but I'm sure he'll be going for it again here. And Specchio battling with Adrian Block. Specchio hasn't pitched yet. the XRC driver keeping it very long out there. He does get overtaken there by Adrian Vlock. So behind him is Kane Ryder. Remember, Paul Stitzer, Kane Ryder. Did take a longer first stop, to be fair, did Ryder, but after leading the opening laps, we haven't really seen him for the past 40 minutes. But there he is. He's with his seemingly best friend there, Ross Rizzo. They have spent pretty much the last 40 minutes glued to one another, and it looks like Rizzo, in fact, will be able to get past here. They are on a very similar stretch sheet, so this is legitimately pole position.
Yeah, really surprised that these guys have stayed as locked together for as long as they have. So we'll keep an eye on that. Barter now back in the lane to get his second stop for the night completed.
That's needed to go a bit further than that. I'm a bit disappointed by that. I thought he'd be able to go another few laps on that low fuel, but yeah, he's had to come into the pits a bit earlier. So just fuel up to get to the end of the race now. I remember, Daniel, you mentioning last time at Daytona, drivers doing a stops on consecutive laps. So you pit on one lap for fresh tyres, take no fuel, and then you pit on the very next lap and you take fuel. And that means that you've got your tyre stop done and you got your fuel to the end of the race complete as well. Just wonder if that's what Van Gisbergen is going to do this time out, whether he'll come into the pits with fresh tyres and then the very next lap he'll come in for fuel as well. That's very similar to what we saw the third place driver try to do, Hugh Bartzer tried to do a few moments ago as well. You just left a couple of laps in between. Van Gisbergen on course for that as he comes across a little bit of traffic. Which fails, who he overtakes straight away. Next up, Chris Pallett and Simon Nicholson. That's the track, quite a gap behind Van Gisbergen. Such is his dominance so far, although he has still got both of his pit stops still to get done. We expect Van Gisbergen to potentially come out of the pits behind some of his rivals, behind the likes of Timothy Phoeben and Joshua Thomas, Craig Edwards as well. However, with the fresh tyres, he should be able to overtake those drivers. So it's still looking very strong for him to take this race victory for himself. And of course, real life V8 Supercars driver, or Supercars driver, is Shane Van Gisbergen jumping in for this race. He has taken part in this series in the past, and it really does once again show that the correlation between real life pace and your sim pace. As Van Gisbergen does come into the pits then for his first pit stop, and yeah, expect him to get up onto the jacks. The question is, how long does he wait before he jumps onto the jacks? Is it a very quick process for himself, or does he wait a little bit longer? The longer we see him on the floor, the more fuel he's taking, and it does seem like he is taking some fuel at the very least at the moment. And in fact, actually taking 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. This seems to be enough fuel to get him to the end of the race. In fact, he's not even taking tyres. It's like even taking tyres as Van Gisbergen. Now, that is an interesting strategy, and I don't quite get the logic with that one. It will mean you will have exceptionally fresh tyres towards the end of the race. He comes out of the pits, does Van Gisbergen, still in the lead of the race, and by comfortable margin as well, ahead of Timothy Phoeben. Meanwhile, Karan, who's just taking his second pit stop, he's down in 20th place and just passing Chris Pallett. That's not really a fight for position, although Pallett, you wouldn't know it because Pallett is still fighting with him, and Pallett really holding up Karan here. Pellett's still with another pit stop to make in this race, but making it ever so tricky for the 925 car. He's just thinking, just let me go, man, and let me set some really quick times. And Karan eventually does get the overtake done. But yeah, Van Gisbergen still leading this race by 22 seconds ahead of Timothy Beef. Back comes again. Oh, I mean, it's almost frustrating to watch as a viewer as well, because Gran it should be so much faster. But I guess he has got older tyres and more fuel than Chris Pellet, hence why Pellet is able to stay ahead of him. The checker flag, there is going to be quite a difference between the two drivers. Here he goes again, Kuran. It's now for 14th place with lots of pit stops happening for Michael Whiting, Adrian Lecty, Martin Chris keeping, Jeremy Clark, and Kuran saying behind once again. This is absolutely classic right now, even though it doesn't mean a whole lot. Gaps between pretty much all the drivers now in the top 13. You can see on the timing screen as the Kuran. I mean, if this was like last lap of the race for the race, this would go down as a classic battle, and it is a classic battle, to be honest. This is fantastic. That's side by side. This will be worthy of iRacing top 10, I think, because they've been almost alongside for an entire lap. And that was contact almost between the two of them. This time it's roles reversed, I think. And finally, Sean Kuran is up ahead of Chris Pellet. If Pellet comes into the pits on this lap, then that would really sum up this battle. Kuran ahead though, although he hasn't yet broken the draft to the driver behind, but to the Fusion Sim Racing driver just on his tail. Trent Thomas at the fast third sector, by the way, of anyone. He's flying along at the moment. I'm not seeing Thomas as a pit stop yet, although I'm not sure if that is strictly true. He must have come into the pits because the fuel wouldn't last that long. Maybe coming into the pits later than some of his rivals. Yeah, he did, so that's all right for him. Right now, Brady McHugh now top of the amateur drivers. He's still got a pit stop yet to go. If any of you were wondering, the purple on the time screen, that represents the elite drivers, the very top class, former champions, former top 3 in the championship. The pro drivers are represented by green, a diminishing class, it must be said, over the seasons as more and more drivers get promoted to the elite, but of course some of the amateur guys getting promoted to the pros. And then the amber, the amateurs, and the red, we haven't seen a whole lot of in the top 20 positions, but there are a couple of them out there on circuits, just keeping the leader of them. They are in the red. They are the rookie drivers. Grady McHugh coming into the pits. That will be his second pit stop of the race, which will send him going to the end of the race. There's Trent Thomas recently coming in for tyres. The 42.1. No one breaking the 41 barrier so far in this race. It looked well on course earlier on for a couple of drivers to break that barrier. Hugh Bartster probably the closest to that, but he just had a bit of traffic for one of his lap times, which scuppered his opportunities. And so that is the first up the race at the minute for Trent Thomas. Although, when Van Gisbergen gets on some fresh tyres, remember Van Gisbergen on the same set of tyres that he started the race, when he gets on some fresh tyres with low fuel, you can expect him to have some exceptional pace and probably shatter that fastest lap of the race. Track temperature, I imagine, is probably below the 40s, 40 degrees now. About 4 degrees lower than it was at the start of the race, which should equate to about quarter of a second a lap of pace for these drivers. Maybe a little bit less than that, maybe 0.2 of a second compared to the start of the race. So some quick times are bound to be set in the closing stages.
Yeah, definitely. Once they get on those fresh set of rubber, that'll be really good to see. I think knowing from Van Gisbergen's caliber, at least being a current generation V8 supercar driver, who'll be really quick in these things when he gets that fresh set of rubber on, and we've already seen that in real life, like Daytona and a few other events, blazingly quick. in these types of cars. So look for him to come through. Trent Thomas doing a great job after his change of tyres. And pushing on well down the order though now at the moment. Martin Crisp has got mirrors full of Matt Morris, Aaron Specchio getting involved in it as well. Michael Whiting just losing a position there just ahead with Adrian Lecty as well. So really solid 5-car battle going on.
And most of these drivers, all of these drivers, have already pitted twice, apart from Aaron Specchio just on the back. Apart from that, these 4 drivers all going to the end of the race, so it's all for position, all does matter a whole lot. This will probably turn out to be the battle for about 10th to 15th by the end of the race, when all the pit stops are made ahead of them. I mean, this is... I would not want to be Adrian Lecty right now, because all these drivers could be straight past him going into the carousel. In fact, Martin Crisp might have the best chance of any of these drivers, because he's going to have the jump. And I think, if anything, Michael White is going to catch up too quick here, because there he is alongside. Where is Crisp behind? Crisp still about 3/10 of a second behind. He's all right. Here comes Whiting. Oh, understeer. Whiting leaves space. Oh, brilliant move there from Michael Whiting. He was so aware of what was going on around him. He knew that Lecty was understeering, and he just left a little bit more room. Great awareness there from Whiting. That's how you do around the outside move. It's not just about kind of trapping your driver on the inside. It's about leaving space, leaving a bit of margin for error. However, he then makes a mistake, and all my compliments, I think, are going to become a bit redundant, because after an exceptional move, it looks like he's going to lose it again. Lecty with the inside line, Whiting again towards the outside. This time leaves a little bit too much room, but the outside does turn into the inside for the next corner, and that time he does finish his rival off just behind them. Matt Morris, in fact, looks as though he's going to be able to gain this place, and he does. Just skips his way through, and then taking advantage of it just behind of Aaron Specchio, manages to get ahead as well. So terrible couple of corners there for Adrian Lecty to drop the positions that he did.
Yeah, but it was a really solid move for a few of those guys through that battle as well. Matt Morris actually gained 2 positions over the course of that. While we were focusing on that fight with Lecty, Morris was already too wide with Martin Crisp there trying to get that move done. So great fight for those guys. A little further up, Nathan Huppert's got mirrors full of Simon Nicholson. These 2 guys have been very, very close over the course of the night. Both gaining some good positions since the start of the race. Huppert's up 5, and Nicholson up 2 as well. So been a really solid night for these guys. Craig Edwards also in the lane for his final stop now tonight, with 20 minutes still on the clock.
Will Huppert's be ahead of Edwards? He should be ahead of Edwards. Edwards now just trundling down the pit lane. No, Edwards ahead. Edwards is ahead of Nathan Huppert. Being able to jump him, I believe, 0.8 of a second faster in the pit stop. I think Huppert was ahead previously. So that's big for Edwards. However, he is still behind Hugh Barter. Barter currently top of the drivers who have made both of their pit stops. There you can see Scott Newton showing it on the timing tower. Barter, Edwards, Huppert, Karan in 3rd place, only 4 seconds behind these drivers, and since the midpoint of the race has been very quick, has Karan. In fact, about matching those drivers at the moment. And then Bartley and Davison, McKee, Pruden, Cullis, and Block. Morris as well, making his 2nd pit stop so far.
Van Giersbergen down in for his final stop, so this will be fresh tyres on for him. With 20 minutes to go, he's going to murder those things to conclude the race. So the car gets straight up on the jacks, and he'll get ready to go. Tim Phoeben, likewise, also into the lane as well. So that leaves only a few guys up in the top there yet to complete their stops here, as we'll see whether they continue through. Van Gisbergen down and away. Actually, probably still counting on the clock there. So 24 seconds so far for him. So he'll be looking to get out of here very, very quickly. Michael Healy having a good solid run here. He's got a little bit of all that traffic ahead of him. That's Damon Mulqueen for Synergy Sim Racing just to get through. Mulqueen just allows him through. It's a good run there. But Ben Gisbergen through, you can just see Tim Phelan just out in front of these guys as well. And that was a good stop for him.
That's big for Phelan. That's second place. Second place for Timothy Phelan. He wasn't running that high up early on in the race, but that's a longer second stint has really worked for him, and he's been able to get ahead of Hugh Bartzer. So it's Van Gisbergen leading the way by 5 seconds now over Timothy Phelan, and Van Gisbergen on fresh tyres, he should be able to comfortably take this race victory from here. I think you, as you were saying before, Danny, he's going to absolutely destroy those tyres and of course set some lightning fast lap times to the end of the event. But then, yeah, Phelan and Bartzer, Edwards, Huppert, and then probably Karan making up your top 6 positions at the moment. And that looks pretty strong to the end of the race. Perhaps Joshua Thomas, Ross Vizzo and Kane Ryder could get in amongst those drivers currently the top 3, but are all yet to pit in this race. Into the pits, in fact, comes Rizzo. So this will be a very quick pit stop for Rizzo. He should need about 4 seconds worth of fuel. So I think he's got a chance right now coming out around Sean Karan. Maybe that's a little bit ambitious for him. But yeah, probably just behind Karan, probably around Danny Davison.
Yeah, I think he'll drop down just a few spots here. It's been a solid run, though, for Rizzo. We know how tricky the Ford has been in recent times to get up to speed as he gets down and away. Huppert will squeak past. Nicholson should get through as well. I think as you pretty well hit the nail on the head. He'll come out just ahead of Karan. They're actually right on the tail of Nicholson now. With the slightly lighter car, he should be in a good position to potentially get back up ahead.
Yeah, so that was better than I thought actually for him there. Managed to stay ahead of Karan, so that'll be sixth place, I believe, for him. Maybe a little bit lower actually, because I think Thomas was ahead of him before the pit stop. So still Joshua Thomas, apologies, looking good for a podium. Potentially, it's very tricky to say at the moment. Timothy Phelan up there in 6th place. He's actually got Healy behind him, Michael Healy, who has still got to make another pit stop. Does Michael Healy? So this one not representing a whole lot. Good pace though for Healy right now. He pitted in on lap 9. Took 37.77 seconds worth of fuel and also took tyres as well. So he will have to come into the pits. You'd expect as Kane Ryder, pole position man, he comes into the pits for his final stop, and I believe before the pit stops he was just behind Rizzo, so he should be around Karan as Van Gisbergen shatters the fastest lap.
Yeah, it's a cracking lap there for Gisbergen, 41.6. Watching the times go through as he's got his first out lap on those that fresh set of rubber, really suiting him and going hell for leather here. So he's got Josh Thomas ahead. Thomas still got to come down the lane, I believe, for his final stop as well. So potential here for Van Gisbergen to get this one in the bag. He's got himself a good little gap. Scott Sislaski not too far behind. For the Trick Esports team, Tim Phelan, you can see involved in that one as well, and as well as Trent Thomas there.
Just looking at that, actually no, that may be true. I was just going to say, looking at that last lap, Van Gisbergen, not actually many purple sectors, but quickly realised that they have probably refreshed since then, but certainly fastest 4th sector for Van Gisbergen on that last time. I'm pretty sure he'll probably pass in every single sector. Joshua Thomas staying out once again for Fishy Motorsports. His lap times in the low 43s at the moment, lapping similar lap times to the drivers who will exit back out into back out of the pits into. So not making a whole lot of progress at the moment is Thomas, but maybe just eking that out ever so slightly. We are thinking he's going to come out around Hugh Bartzer in that battle for third position. Van Gisbergen on this lap of 41.77. Yes, 1/10 of a second slower than his fastest lap of the race, and lapping some 1.5 seconds faster than the race leader. As Michael Healy finally comes into the pits after pitting some about an hour ago. He does finally come in for his second and final pit stop, but that was a good stint there from Healy, and a top 20 might be on the cards for him, taking a very alternate strategy compared to many of his rivals.
Yeah, a really good run there, as you say, and a little unfortunate not going to be further up once the pit stops do cycle through, although he is back underway, currently down in 15th, but yeah, a little unfortunate there. He's not going to be up in that top 10, but very, very solid. We see a car stuck heavy in the wall. Potential for a VSC with that car there.
As he toes back. So we're waiting potentially for a VSC. If there was, then Joshua Thomas might be in a box here. I don't think he'd be the race lead for Thomas, but it would probably put him into second place. It was for Specchio.
That's a little unfortunate there. Loses the rear, gets a little bit of a hit from one of the DPR cars, and then it looked like Wazzy tried to get that car back around. Got it stuck heavy in the wall there. So let's have another look here. You see the beard just goes on him. No real inkling that was going to happen there. A little bit of touch up. He has to be careful being stuck on the inside like that and just not able to get that car rotated around.
Doesn't seem like there's going to be a safety car. Which I'm a little bit disappointed by. I must confess, I always like a little bit of a strategy mix-up right at the end of the race, but maybe the stewards just gave him the call that he was all right to tow back, and usually a virtual safety car, I don't think a virtual safety car comes out usually if there's a tow. Usually if there is a tow, there's a safety car. It's only if there's like a hazard on circuit, which then later resolves itself as a virtual safety car. And of course, deploying a safety car at this point in the race would probably not be the best thing in the world, because that would pretty much take us to the checkered flag, or give us a one-lap shootout. I'm not quite sure. That would be fun, but no need for it seemingly. Deciding by the stewards have decided, and Joshua Thomas will be absolutely gutted about that one, because if he had a virtual safety car, he would have got a free pit stop, and he been in line for winning this race, but instead he will have to pit under green flag conditions, and we'll probably just be looking for third place instead. Adrian Lecty on the tail of Chris Pellet. We've seen these two guys kind of up and down the order. In fact, it may have been, was it Lecty who made contact? I don't think it was. It was another DPR car who made contact to Specchio a few moments ago, but this is for 25th place right now. Down the inside, good defence though from Lecty, but apologies, good defence there from Pellet, but looks like Lecty, the Swiss driver, is ahead.
Yeah, also Sosowski and Trent Thomas in the lane for their final stops also, but Lecty at the moment has got a little bit of damage on the nose of that car, which I think, as you say, might have been as a result of that contact with Specchio, but doesn't seem to be hurting him too much, going very defensive, trying to keep Chris Pellet behind. But good run here for Chris up into the hill. He should be able to get the Porsche through. Just struggling to get that mid-corner exit there, and has to look for another opportunity to get through. Just quickly touching on the safety car, I know one man who would have been bitterly disappointed that didn't come out, and that's the driver there, Kester Mack. Unfortunately not getting a run the last couple of events, so bitterly disappointing for him.
Yeah, it must be fun being the safety car. I think that's, I mean, it's one of the best jobs in the world, isn't it? Being a safety car driver for a racing series. Ooh, Greg Sharp making contact with the 336 machine. I'm not sure who that was though. Born Rider, apparently, it was. It was the 338. There you go. I was getting confused. It's my inability to understand numbers, which I'm blaming on that one. He did try to address, to be fair, did Greg Sharp.
Yeah, a little unlucky in that exchange there. He did have a pretty open door there, so a little unfortunate not to get through race contact or race stewards reviewing that one. So potentially, I think based on that, we will see. Unfortunately for Sharp, more than likely it'll be a drive-through penalty. So a little unfortunate there, but that's the breaks for him. As we continue watching this great fight up the front, Nicholson, Huppert, and Rizzo fighting their way through, all scrapping now up for 6th position.
See how dark it is. 4:30 in the afternoon, guys. Why is it so dark? It's not Norway, is it? 38 degrees track temperature now. Drive-through penalty, post-race penalty for Greg Sharp, 15 seconds for that one. Despite waiting for his rival, but yeah, certainly the right decision from the stewards. 38 degrees, so track temperature's taking a while to cool down, but now that we've got this overcast weather, it'll come down a couple more degrees by the end of the race. Certainly the tyres should be lasting better in this second stint than we saw at the start when we had some 44 degrees track temperature. Nicholson still yet to pit, of course. But with his lower fuel load, he's being able to keep up right now with Nathan Huppert and Ross Rizzo. It's the battle which will be for 3rd or 4th position, we believe. And Rizzo at the moment, because of Nicholson getting the drop from the car ahead, he can't make his way past at the moment. However, Nicholson may well duck into the pits this time out. Trent Thomas, though, Joshua Thomas staying out in the race. His pit stop at the end is going to be exceptionally slow. It's going to probably be about 1 second stationary. Might even pit on the penultimate lap.
You can only get that final stop on the last lap if you're behind the safety car.
The stewards won't let that, will they? I think
if you don't get that,
we don't want Schumacher 94 or whenever it was.
No, look, I think looking at the way this will go, the guys will need to come through, and they'll sort that out pretty quickly because we're down to just on 5 minutes. So within the next lap or two, he will be through the lane to get that gone off. Looks like that bit of cloud that we saw come across the track has now cleared. Sun conditions back underway there, which is great to see. So keep an eye on that. But for Thomas, the pace on the slightly older tyres still not too bad comparative to what we're seeing from Van Gisbergen, although Van Gisbergen was a second quicker last time by. So yeah, potential we're going to see Thomas definitely will lose that spot when he does come through the lane.
His pace, Thomas, hasn't quite been good enough. 43.6 that last time round. That's in comparison to Huppert's 43.17. Although saying that he should be clear, but then Bart's 43.09. It's not quite good enough for Thomas as he's into the pits for the last time. This is going to be one of the last pit stops we see out on circuit. There's only maybe Sislowski, I think, yet to, or Trent Thomas apparently hasn't pitted twice, although yeah, he has pitted twice. But this might be the last pit stop then. Joshua Thomas coming down, and already Shane Van Gisbergen, such as his advantage, already passed. He'll be stationary for 2 seconds, and away he goes. A bit longer than that, 4.7. Where is he ahead of Beeben? He might be. I thought third place was as good as it's going to be. It'll be second place for Joshua Thomas. That was good enough for him. So he's, in fact, 7 seconds clear of Bartzer, 3.5 seconds clear of Beeben. Despite those few laps not being exceptionally good for Thomas, it was good enough. And a second place will be a good recovery for him from third position on the grid. Nice effort for the early race leader, and that was quite comfortable in the end.
Yeah, definitely a really good stop there for him, and gets underway. Davis and Healy a little further back for 13th and 14th position. EXG and Trick Motorsport, or Trick Esports, having a solid fight here to get this one done. Healy's in a good opportunity here to get the draft down to the carousel. Shows the nose a little bit early, probably not where you want to be, but already with pace advantage as they go down.
Past goes Healy into 13th place, past the EXG Motorsports car. Last time he was half a second faster, now 4.6 seconds to Martinian, which is going to be too far. But still good driving from him. Couple of other battles going on at the moment. Well, here's one of them. Silvassi versus Whiting. Oh, Silvassi there nearly understeering into his rival. We're going to have a couple more laps to go after this one. The race leader about half a lap clear of these drivers. Exceptionally quick. The top 33 drivers are on the lead lap. So it's really good driving, considering that this is a 90-minute race, 100-second lap. That's basically meaning that the top 33 drivers are all within about a second and a half of the race leader, or maybe 2 seconds within about a second and a half within the race leader per lap, which is really good considering that they've been battling it. And meanwhile, Van Gisbergen, of course, has, on the most part, had quite a bit of clear air. So really high quality drivers. Of course, remember in this series, everyone's on the same setup, fixed setup, hence Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship. And so there's very little advantage. All comes down to driver skill. That's partially why all the drivers are so close. Zlowski being overtaken by Trent Thomas, who was 4 tenths of a second faster on the last lap, and it looks as though Trent Thomas has got the move done. He's now got 1.2 seconds to catch up to Sean Curran, which might be a little bit too much, although Curran is just struggling a little bit through these past couple of corners. So Trent Thomas might be able to get up into the top 8 by the end.
Yeah, potentially, but the teammates are still battling, and the first rule of that is you don't take your teammate out. So these two are going to have a pretty solid scrap nonetheless, and see what they can come up with. But yeah, you're right, they are starting to close that gap to Sean just ahead.
Big crash for Morris, and that was a huge impact. Really be able to get that one back to the pit. So exceptional camera work there from Scott Neaton. I think that was more luck than anything to catch that one. Net code there. Okay, between the two drivers, and that was Martin Crisplen, who he made contact with. Morris still ahead of Silvassi, but I don't think he'll be able to keep him behind to the end of the race. We're on to the last lap.
Yeah, I think just looking at that one, I think you got to. Netcode's a bit of a hard call on that one. I think for Morris, he really suffered badly as a result of that. Hopefully, he's able to get that car back, so to finish it off. Van Gisbergen, however, coming through the toe for the final time. It's been a really solid effort for him. He had his measure early on with Josh Thomas and the guys getting a little bit of an advantage, but worked a fantastic strategy, pushed those tyres as far as he did, and has built quite a solid lead to come home. At least 13 seconds clear of the nearest competitors. Yeah,
he jumps into this car. You can tell why he's such a successful driver in the real world, Shane Van Gisbergen. He's absolutely dominated this race. And with an excellent strategy, he will come to the line and he will win this round 6 of the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship at Watkins Glen. Shane Van Gisbergen is your race winner. Joshua Thomas, good points for the championship. For one of the championship contenders, he'll finish second for Fishy Motorsports. And Timothy Theben, one of his best results for the defending champion of the season for Mach 1 Esports, he finishes in third. The others will cross the line, but it's going on further down the order, I believe. Michael Whiting and Jeremy Clark pretty close to one another. Also Matt Morris with the damage. In big trouble against Blake Delaney and Chris Keeping. There's Whiting though, battling with Jeremy Clark for the final couple of corners. At the moment, it's Clark just ahead. And in fact, Clark making that move. He seems to have the pace line, was 1 second faster on the last lap. And it seems like he's got that move done and will be able to keep that position. But also Keeping has got past Matt Morris, it seems. Morris really slow in these closing stage. And yeah, he will be beaten Morris by Delaney and Pellet and Keeping. A shame for him. But it was a strange strategy in the end, Daniel, from Shane Van Gisbergen. I don't think it was the best strategy. I think staying on those tires for as long as he did for the first hour and 10 minutes of the race, I don't think that was the way to go, and yet he still won by 12 seconds. That is incredible. I mean, I don't think he drives these cars a whole lot, of course. He has a busy schedule. So to do that, it's just talent all over.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was a great run tonight. We don't see Shane in enough of these events, although very active with everything going on in the world of supercars, but he is very active within the Australian community and puts a lot of servers up. So he's very adept with these cars, and I think it showed tonight. Obviously, transitioned from setups where you can make the most out of them, jumped into the fixed setup and really dominated on that. So it was a fantastic run for him and for our top three, Thomas and Phoeben as well. Take nothing away from those guys. Well, maybe not quite having the pace that they needed. They're still racking up some fantastic points for the total championship, which is the big picture that these guys are all thinking of.
Definitely, that's the main thing that they'll be concerned with, and yeah, some good points today for some of those front-running drivers. These finishing results then for this round of the championship. I've been saying it's round 6. It's round 6. Oh, that's right. Cool. Okay, sorry about that. Round 6 of the championship then, and it is, in fact, actually, yeah, we have got the results. Apologies. Shane Van Gisbergen wins out, 13 seconds clear. Again, the endurance event's really close, but a couple of times in a row now, with Edwards last time out and Van Gisbergen this time out, a decent margin by the end of the race. But Van Gisbergen, to be fair, did earn that margin. Joshua Thomas with really good strategy in second place. Timothy Phelan finishes in third. Then it was Hugh Barter, Craig Edwards, Nathan Huppert, Ross Rizzo, Sean Curran getting 20 odd places, I think, to 8th. He just about kept behind Trent Thomas. Scott Sislowski, he just needs to figure out his qualifying for Sislowski. He does qualify very low down, but he's had some fantastic results in the last 3 rounds. Kane Ryder, pole position man. Just didn't have the pace. Ever so strange for Kane Ryder. In 11th place. Mario Bartonian finishes in 12th. There's Michael Healy, Danny Davison, Grady McKee, Simon Nicholson, Jordan Prudent, and Adrian Block in 18th place. Then it was Jordan Cullis, Martin Chris, Martin Silvassi, Jeremy Clark, Michael Whiting, Adrian Lichty, Chris Pellets, Blake Delaney, Chris Keeping, Matt Morris, Brett Wilson, Mitchell Bales, Scott Huggan, apologies, Tom Huggan, I don't know where that came from, Lockie Brown, Paul Wood, Hayden Smith, Pat Gallo, Vaughan Ryder, Damon Mulqueen, Greg Sharp, Paul Rourke, Aaron Specchier, then Dave Clements and David Coleman, running out your 42 car field. Remember, there was another split going on simultaneously. It's the amount of drivers that we get signed up for this series. Hopefully, we'll get an interview with our top drivers. We haven't got our race winner in at the moment. However, I've got second place man Joshua Thomas in for a chat. Joshua, congratulations out there, second place. You must be really delighted with that one, because it seemed like Shane was just a little bit too quick today, but there's some stiff competition behind.
Yeah, well done to Shane. He was stupidly fast, but yeah, the guys behind me were quick as well, but thankfully I got out ahead of them, and happy to tuck in second behind Shane Van Gisbergen. It's not a bad thing.
No, absolutely not. Talk us through your strategy. Was because you went quite long during the first stint. I think you pitted on about 48 minutes, I think, and then the second stint you just went on and on. What was that a decision when you came in for that first stop that you were going to extend that second stint, or was that always the plan?
The plan was, it was just going to be go as long as I could on that first initial tank of fuel, and then pit, so I only had to do a splash and dash at the end. But Craig and a few of those other guys that were behind me, they undercut me pretty well, so I was hoping that I was quick enough on new tyres to potentially undercut Shane, but yeah, that definitely didn't happen.
Good news for you in the championship. After a couple of tricky rounds. I mean, Suzuka, you're just unfortunate with the virtual safety car, I think, and then Daytona as well. Was there a little bit extra pressure today to get a good score? Because, of course, you'd hope that Daytona will be your drop score for the endurance races, so you couldn't afford a bad result tonight.
Yeah, all the guys in this series are really consistent, so you can't afford too many crappy results. But yeah, Daytona was a bit iffy. I passed someone before the race started, so fair enough. I'll cop that on the chin. But yeah, thankfully tonight I managed to string it together, and yeah, hopefully Daytona was as bad as it gets.
Yeah, absolutely. And next time we go to Nürburgring. Apparently, it's at the Nordschleife for the next round. Something that I'm not aware this race has ever encountered. You stand to correct me there, Joshua. But do you have much experience around that circuit? And do you have much experience around that circuit in these cars?
I'm pretty sure it's the long circuit as well, the one with like 480 million corners in it. So I've done a few laps around there, but not specifically in this car. So I don't know. I'll do a bit of practice throughout the week, but that should be a fun race. It'll be interesting to see how everyone goes.
Definitely. Best of luck for that one. Congrats on your second place tonight, Joshua. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Big thanks to the Fishy Motorsport guys, Black Wolf Graphics, Virtual Motorsport Mentor, and Lakes Custom Computers. They all help along the way. And yeah, thanks heaps, guys. Hopefully I'll see you next week.
Awesome. Thanks for having a chat with us, Joshua. And yeah, see you next time.
No problem. Thank you.
Joshua Thomas there, your second place driver for Fishy Motorsports. Next up, we have got Timothy Beeben, and he is standing by with Daniel Leeds.
Okay, Tim, congratulations, mate. Third position tonight. Solid effort for yourself and the Mark 1 team. How was it out there tonight? It looked like you found yourself in some very good battles throughout the course of the race.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Yeah, it was really tough, to be honest. Just it seemed a lot longer than what Daytona did last week, I think, just because you do so many more laps. But yeah, just sort of it was a pretty clean start, and then yeah, just got into the rhythm and followed the train along. Really, I sort of sat behind Hugh strategically to sort of save fuel and save tyres. So I think that probably paid off in the end. But yeah, it was good.
And speaking of, obviously, longer different track to what we saw last week at Daytona, a lot more corners. How did you find the transition, obviously, going from the night back into the day with the setup? I know during the week, from a few of the laps I did, the cars felt not too bad, maybe not quite as much grip there as what we'd seen last time out. Did you guys find the same thing, and was it hard balancing that tyre life at all?
Yeah, look, it wasn't too bad. The Porsche just felt really solid, to be honest, the whole race. It really didn't show any signs, of letting go anywhere. So it was pretty easy to drive. You just sort of, had to hit the, hit your marks, and the lap time sort of came with that. But yeah, as far as day to night goes, I suppose Daytona's pretty well lit, so didn't notice it too much as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, definitely. And then next week we're off to the Nürburgring, off to the Nordschleife. Have you managed to put many laps together around that circuit? Are you familiar with? Have you got all 400 odd corners memorised into your memory yet?
Well, I'll tell you this. I've done the first part of the track, probably the first quarter of the track, many, many times, and not so many the rest of it, because you know what it's like if you crash and then you're back to the start.
Yeah, look, I'm shocking. Once I get off the Nürburgring, I'm terrible. So don't worry, mate. You're still getting along further than I have. But no, look, it's going to be an interesting race going to that one. Do you think over the course of the week, obviously a lot of practice to go? How do you think the cars are going to handle getting through that one?
Yeah, no, I think the Porsche will be pretty good around there. Yeah, it's just sort of, I think passing is going to be the biggest thing, isn't it? I suppose down the back straight will obviously be a good opportunity. But yeah, looking forward to it. I've done a few laps, so like I'm reasonably familiar. But yeah, I need to tidy up a bit. But yeah, you think you're half alright at it, and then you do a lap time, and someone can be a lot quicker over the course of such a long lap.
Yeah, definitely. Well, look, mate. Again, congratulations on third. It's more points into the bank for the championship, and obviously going on to try and defend the title that you won last time out. Before we let you go, though, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out and a thanks to?
Yeah, just thanks to the Mark 1 lads.
yeah, bit more luck these last few races, so that's been good. So it's good to be back up the front. But yeah, thanks to you guys for commentating. It's always good to watch. So yeah, thank you. Take it easy.
Thanks a lot, Tim. All the best, mate. Hope to see you back out at Nürburgring next week.
See you guys.
And that was our third place finisher there, Timothy Beeben. So next up, Daniel, Nordschleife. I mean, to be fair, the fact that the ILMS community decided to go to Nordschleife, remember they run LMP1 cars, they run HPDs, and they run GTEs in multi-class. Although such a long lap, I'm not sure if they'll even be able to lap one another by the end of the event. That is that was crazy from the community. I've never seen them actually pick that circuit before. However, I think in a single class in GTEs, that would be great. And we have proper specialists around that circuit, where some drivers just kind of understand that place. If you've done a few VLN races, then you're going to have a massive advantage over someone who has less experience around that circuit, even if they are around most circuits, better place. So it could be a mixed up event, and there's going to be almost a lot more to lose than there is going to be to gain.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's such a tricky corner circuit. I mean, obviously we go to our traditional circuits like Watkins, Glen, your Daytonas. You've got only 12 or 13 corners to memorize. Head off to the Nürburgring to go to the Nordschleife, you're up over 400 to try and memorize. And the minute you get lost in where you are on that circuit, it's game over. There's no coming back there. So for the guys that have the memory banks to hold all that, and I'm sure that all these guys, the talent of the championship that we've got so far, they'll memorize it. They'll have their little track map up to try and work out where they're going. So they'll be fine. But it's going to be a really solid challenge. The strategies are going to be interesting for these guys. Obviously, the length of those laps, is plus 9.5 minutes to get around. Obviously, 2 stops that the guys are going to have to endure. I reckon, we saw a few guys try it tonight with the 2 stops. I reckon Nürburgring is where you're going to want to run 2 stops. Take that little extra pain in the stop to get the advantage across the length of that lap.
Yeah, that would be fantastic to see that strategic battle, a 90-minute race once again. We cannot wait up in the commentary box. Hopefully, I doubt you can wait either back at home, and I think the drivers, some of them can wait for a little while. That's going to be some big preparation for that race. Of course, later on the iRacing esports now, we've got loads more action. We've got rallycross, we've got single seaters, got more GT action, we've got multi-class. Certainly do watch the Apex Racing League GT Championship later on. That'll be at 19 GMT even. So the evening for Europeans. For the Aussies, I imagine that will be very early morning, and then for the Americans in the afternoon. That'll be the season finale from Suzuka. A couple of championships still to decide in that one after Tom McMahon took the title. So do watch that, the Apex Racing League GT Championship. And there's loads more on the iRacing Esports Network, and there's loads more on Apex Racing TV. If you're watching on the Esports Network, hop over to Apex Racing TV and go subscribe to the channel, because we're broadcasting about 15 races a week at the moment. American races, oval racing, of course Aussie racing, and also lots of European racing as well. So there's lots for you to delve your teeth into. So certainly do recommend subscribing to our channel. And if you've enjoyed this video, please do leave a like on it. We super appreciate it. And check in on the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship for the remainder of the championship. We've still got another 7 rounds of the season to go. But from now, from me, from Daniel, and from Scott, we're going to say goodbye, and we'll see you next time out at the Nordschleife. See you then.